Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
I am very fortunate to have a chance to talk with you and find out all about your incredible career. And I would love to start us off with hearing about your background and your journey to becoming a full-time artist.
Oh, well, I'll give you the summary, which is when I was a kid, I had stories in my head and I wanted to draw them all out. And I drew the stories out, and they were dinosaurs, and they were pictures of me saving the girls that I had crushes on, which was a lot of them. And I just got into really storytelling, and I needed to draw the pictures to kind of satisfy me. I just had to see them. And I used to I'd go to my grandmother's house, and you know those old shoe boxes. I used to cut a little hole out the top and put two pencils and cut holes in the side. Anyway, make a little movie for myself where I would tape a strip of construction paper and do like a little storyboard. And as I turned the pencils, it would wind up in the pencil.
I did the same thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about. I thought I was weird.
No, we're both weird.
Yeah, it was. Well, I loved doing those. And I would make my little storyboards, and I'd have a little movie, and I'd draw the little pictures, and then you could turn the pencil and I'd have a whole new picture in my little window there. And I thought I invented this. I did this when I was like 5 years old. And anyway, I'm not going to give you because this is already taking too long.
No, you're fine.
Some summary. But anyway, I was interested in art, and my art teacher in high school kind of said, you got to go to art school. And I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to go to art school, but I applied to the Rhode Island School of Design as one of my colleges. And I actually thought I was going to go off to be an engineer along with my girlfriend at the time in high school, because, I wasn't thinking through anything except, I was in love with her. So wherever she's going. And it turned out that I didn't get accepted to the school she was going to. And we broke up anyway, but she broke up with me. So that's another story. And then we went to, that's how I got into the Rhode Island School of Design. And I went to college there, Providence, Rhode Island. And 1,000 stories that I, don't have time for. But one of them was, I realized that I really loved drawing, and I wanted to be an illustrator after all and tell stories. Right? This is the continuum. All right. So I wanted to tell stories. I had Chris Van Allsburg for a teacher who did the Polar Express and Jumanji and all this stuff. And that was quite an inspiring experience, because I realized here's a guy who was telling stories and drawing, and he was his own maestro. He didn't have to work with other people. I mean, I'm not a very good collaborator. I don't do well with others. As far as I'm very independent. We can talk about that separately, but I just have a fundamental disagreement with following orders or so. At the Rhode Island School of Design, I was inspired to write my own children's books, and of course I did that. And I had Simon and Schuster published this one many years ago, and it's still in print, and it's occasionally a bestseller in the summer. The Night of the Moon Jellies. Yeah, I loved my experience in publishing. Gosh, there's so many stories, Caroline, but I keep making this too long.
No, you're fine.
I skip ahead a little bit here. I became an illustrator. I became a storyteller, and I went to schools, hundreds of schools, and I read to children. And this was while my kids, I was a stay-at-home dad, and I would, whenever I could, I'd go off to a school. And my wife had a full-time job. She's the one that can follow instructions. And I just went to schools and I read my books to children. And I did other things. I sang songs. I played guitar and wrote songs and told stories and had a great time. But eventually, once that I had done enough of that. I realized I didn't want to publish any more children's books. I was done with that. I just wanted to paint. And around 1998, I guess, I decided to just go full bore into just the painting. I had always been painting. It's not like I, started. I've always been a painter, always telling stories with pictures, always doing many other things. I mean, the art is the only thing I've ever done of one kind or another. And so that's really it. I just started painting full time about 25 years ago, and I've just never stopped.
So
Somehow
once you
there's too much missing there.
well, once you started painting full time, then our listeners, of course, have all different backgrounds, but they're wondering, how did you support yourself? How did you make it a regular income thing where it just had that regular money
Right.
flow that allows them to get the groceries and pay the bills? And
Well, I've never been a good business person. I've never, I'm afflicted with the problem of not caring very much about where the money comes from. And that has been a frustration on occasion, but I just never cared. I know this sounds nutty, but let me put it also, hey, I got lucky. I married a spectacularly beautiful, accomplished woman who who had her own dreams. And when we were young, we got married. We were in our 20s, and she went off and did her thing. When we had kids, I was drawing at home, coming up with story ideas. I had a million things. I was singing songs, playing a lot of guitar, and painting, always painting something. And I took care of the kids. I was a stay-at-home dad, and so I supported her when she had her full-time job, and that her full-time job enabled us to have insurance for the kids, enabled us to pay the rent, enabled us to save a little money. And then as the kids got old enough for me to get out and do my thing, that's around the time that Night of the Moon Jellies was taking off. I mean, I was always making money. It just happened. I mean, I am a tenacious person. I'm very stubborn. I'm very tenacious. I mean, I don't know how many people I've run into in my life, hundreds of people who said, well, I always wanted to publish a children's book. How do you do that? How do you get an agent? How did you do that? Well, when I was 28, I genuinely didn't care who I called and what I said to. I mean, I remember, this is a picture of how tenacious I am. I wanted to publish a children's book. I had been an illustrator in Boston for like 5 years, ever since I got out of college in 1983. And I wanted to be an illustrator. So I was illustrating for the Boston Phoenix and the Globe and doing spot work for, I don't know, Rolling Stone or whatever I could get my work in. And so I just got to a point where I said, no, I just have to get this book published. And I just went to New York. Who does this? I went to New York with my portfolio in my hand, got off the train, didn't have enough money to get in a cab. For some reason, I had money, but I couldn't find it or something. And a couple of guys in a black limousine said, where are you going? I said, I'm going uptown. And they let me ride with them. And I remember they dropped me off on Madison Avenue. And I just got out, said, thank you very much, had a nice talk. I remember their look in their eyes here I am, this 28-year-old kid, and I'm looking at these two older gentlemen who are giving me a ride to up Madison Avenue and in their limo. And they said, so what are you in town for? I said, well, I'm going to go and get my book published. And it was like, it was really like out of a movie, oh, I'm going to go to New York and I want to make it big time. So I got out of the limo. I had my portfolio and they wished me luck. And I went off and I just walked up and down. I went Forrest, Strauss and Giroux, Simon and Schuster, all the publishers. There were so many in those days. And I would just walk in. I walked right into the office and I would say, hello, I'm here to see the art director. Do you have an appointment? I said, no, but I'm here now. And believe it or not, That's how I got my first real conversation with a publisher. And it happened that week. I was in town for a couple of days. I've been to New York a lot. I grew up in New London, Connecticut, so I wasn't afraid of being in New York, but I don't have any fear when it comes to my tenacity. And I'm not afraid to call anyone, talk to anyone. I have no concern about, I'm not worried about that. The biggest fear that I have is I always want to make sure that I've done the best I can. If I don't do the best I can and then it flops, that's where something hurts inside.
Because then it's on you.
Oh, it's got to be on me, because I don't feel any reward for doing something for somebody else. If I make someone else happy, I love that. I love to make people happy, but I can't do it as a job. And I've only recently figured this out. I can't read people's minds. I can't figure out what they really want, and they'll say, well, will you paint my dog? Well, yeah, I could, but I don't know. What are you seeing in your dog? Like, I don't know what you're seeing. I can't. Is it in the eyes? Is it in the expression? Is there something about your dog? Is there a memory you have? Oh, well, it's just my dog. No, it's not just your dog. That's why you want a painting of it. It's more than your dog. You want something special, and I don't know what it is. I can't figure that out. I'm no good at that. I'm sorry to say.
So you don't do commissions?
Well, I do commissions. I'll tell you how I do them. I don't know if you'll ever talk to another artist who will tell you how. I mean, this is the strangest. I'll just tell you, look, I'm out painting one day at Marblehead. No, I don't do commissions. So here's what happened. I'm out painting in Marblehead, which is the next town up from me, north. It's
my mom's family's from Boston.
Oh, you
Boston.
know what I'm talking.
They're from Haverhill, so.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. So it's this beautiful coastal town, and I'm painting a scene. This is about, I'm going to say about 17 years ago, maybe 15. And I'm liking my painting. It's one of those days. It's going well, and a man comes up to me and says, I really love that painting. First question he asked was, how do you know when you're done? He's not
Yeah.
I said, well, the way I know is by the time I've ruined it, I know I'm done.
Oh yeah. You've gone too far.
Yeah, I've gone too far.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my quip. It's not really an answer because I don't know the answer.
Well, I'll scratch that one off your questions list.
Yeah. And the other thing is, so he said, do you ever do commissions? I said, well, not really, but what do you have in mind? And he said, well, I've got a house that's down by the water. We just spent $2 million on the grounds. It used to be the old DuPont estate in these beautiful rose gardens and koi ponds and stuff. And I refurbished all that. It's a beautiful house. I'd love you to come and paint the house. So I said, listen, no promises. Here's what I'll do. You tell me where you live. I'll go there. I'll look around. If I see a painting, I'll paint it if I want to. And if I paint something and I feel good about it, I'll call you and I'll invite you to my studio and you can buy it or not. It's up to you. There's no obligation here. But if you don't want it, you have to allow me to sell it to someone else, no question asked.
Very good.
And how do you feel about that? Now, see, the whole thing there is Mark's in charge, right?
Yeah, you switched the power paradigm right away.
Well, there's nobody, I don't owe anybody anything. If it doesn't work out, I don't owe anybody. So he says, all right, come to my house. And I went to his house. Breathtaking. Absolutely. It's right on the water. It's still there. It's a gorgeous home. Pillars, I don't know how many rooms, big, beautiful thing. And he comes up, he says, all right, this is what I want you to paint. And he stands me in front of the house and he aims me right at the front. So there's no ocean to the right. There's no flowers to the, nothing. It's just the house.
You're like, forget
and
it.
I'm thinking to myself, this is why I cannot do commissions. This guy doesn't see anything. about how to approach this painting. But I know that I'm seeing paintings everywhere.
Yes.
So he said, look, come out anytime you want, park your car. Turns out I ended up doing 8 paintings. It took me about 3 months. I called him up. I said, Brian, I've got something for you to see. If you want it, come and look. If you don't want it, it's absolutely fine with me. But I'm around on Thursday night if you want to drop in. He came in, and the rest of the story is he bought all of them.
Now, were you showing up plein air to paint on site, or were you taking photos and going back to your studio?
Oh, I did not use photos. No, I was showing up plein air on site, and I was painting, but he's never there. He runs a franchise, and he is the busiest guy in the world, so he's never on his property. In fact, one time he said he envied me because I spent more time on his property than he did. But I was out there in the garden. He had a gardener named Rick and a cute little dog that was running around, and he had koi ponds. He had statues he had brought from Italy. This was the most beautiful rose gardens I have ever seen. And so, of course, I saw paintings everywhere. And he was under no obligation to buy any of it, but he bought all of it. And the one painting that I threw in for fun, I didn't charge him for it, was the one that he asked me for, which was the house, just the house. I just threw that in as a gift.
Wow. See, I'm not drawn to architectural paintings because they're so right angle and so particular, it has to be so like, how long does that take you to do the whole house?
Oh gosh, it wasn't that complicated at all, because he had his vision I painted his vision, which was just a simple rectangle. But in the ones where my inspiration, I wish I had some I could show you. It was all, the house is to the right, but the water is over here, the beach. The roses are spilling out over the edge of the seawall.
Yes.
There's so many other things in the painting. The house, you have to be accurate with that, but you don't. I don't remember it being very particularly complicated. You got to draw your straight lines, and I have tools for that. I use a ruler or something to get the straight line. Not afraid of straight lines. I'm more afraid of the organic stuff, getting that right.
Okay. See, I get really bored of the inorganics. It depends on what it is, but when it's a building, sometimes it depends on how painterly I can get with it.
Okay.
That's funny though.
It's interesting that you said that, because I have found that I have never been bored. I'm almost never bored. Because I'm very inner motivated. Like, everything I do is from my heart, everything I'm doing.
Yes.
And I recommend that to artists. Find out what you love and just do that. And so if I can think of the story behind the picture, I'm never bored. There's no part of the picture that bores me. There can be challenges, difficulties in, like, how do I handle this really dark part of the picture, or how do I get this right? But I'm almost never bored. I've been blessed with incredible energy for artistic expression. And if I'm not acting in a play or singing in a band or playing my guitar or painting, I'll be writing poetry, or I'll be just daydreaming, walking the beach. It really doesn't stop. There's no way to turn it off, I've found.
Yeah, no, there isn't. I'm the same way with multimedia, and either I'm at the digital design end, or I'm in my studio, or I'm at the mic or editing video. It comes out no matter what you're doing. You're finding ways to express yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, the interesting thing so the way not to get bored for me is to definitely, as you mentioned, choose your assignments and the angle at which you come at them.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up, I don't advertise it too much, but I end up doing a lot of posthumous portraits. And that can be hard, and that you've never met the person or the pet.
Yeah.
But if I can get a sense of who the person was, I find that they definitely work for me. And it's almost like I'm connecting with something that I'm not meeting the person, but somehow if I can connect with who I feel that person was, that it works. So that's an interesting kind of angle, but it
Mhm.
definitely has to come from, I think, through your perspective and your lens so that you can set it up the way that works for your energy, like you do with, you say, you kind of set the ground rules for all that work. And then of course it comes through in the work, and he bought everything that you painted.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder
And
if
I've had a few other experience. I've had other similar things happen with commissions. I just don't do them. If people, I don't look forward to a commission.
yeah,
I mean, if I get roped into something where it's like that's kind of situation, as happy as an ending as that was,
yeah,
I still don't want to do it. I'd rather do my own thing.
yeah. Well, and I can appreciate that. And I almost wonder from a marketing standpoint, if saying what you said about, hey, you have to sign off on this, that if you don't buy it, I can sell a picture of your house to someone else. You
Oh
wonder if that
yeah,
had anything to do, if that will motivate the buyer to think, well,
yeah.
at
I,
theme parks, they do that. And it's not really a good analogy, but in other words, they take your picture, and if you don't want it, they're like, well, you
yeah,
have to
that's a
leave
little
it
bit.
there.
Well, that's a little bit of a shakedown.
It
So I don't,
is.
and I don't want to, and I don't want to do that to people. But
No,
see,
but
everything. If I that's too injurious. I would rather, which is why it matters to me so much.
yeah, we're
I
coming from the
really,
heart.
I really care about people, and I want to make them happy. And
Yes.
if there's, and my only reason for not doing commissions is because I don't know I don't know how to make them happy. I mean,
Yeah.
I can make me happy, and very often that leads them to be happy. So that works out. You know,
Commissions definitely require the compromise. I find for me, it's a frustration of, if the person has given me a photo that I feel, if I have 5 photos and one of them is really not optimal and they want that photo
yeah.
and the lighting's
Oh God,
bad,
yeah.
or it's one of them
Oh,
was blurry and I had to kind of make a composite, and it was a very
uh,
difficult, but I
oh my
found
God.
what I did for that assignment was that I found my motivation in the fact that it was very clear, no matter how blurry this photo was, that if I could get something the person would approve, that they would be just thrilled, even though I would kind of be like afraid to look at it. That was what they wanted. And I've had
Well,
several, especially posthumous. They'll be like, this is the photo I want, because it meant something to the person getting it.
see, I think that's great. That's wonderful that you can. I envy your ability to do that. See, I'll tell you the one. Here's the like the commission to end all commissions. I mean, this was just I was a friend of a friend, and those are the hardest ones to put down. Those are the hardest ones to say no to. A
Yes.
friend of a friend said, listen, Mark, I've got these 2 granddaughters, grandkids, and I want paintings of them, and I want you to do them. He was very direct, and this was about 6 years ago. And unlike you, I don't like doing portraits from photos at all. Oh my God. Oh, please. I have to have the person with me. It's just not going to work otherwise. So I have to do it from life. So if I'm going to do a portrait, which is why I don't do very many portraits. But anyway, he sends me these 2 photographs, and they are the crappiest photos you could imagine of
Yeah.
these kids. You couldn't really tell who, like the lighting was horrible. The
The light's
angle was
blown
the
out.
composition. There was one of them had a rose right in his face like this. So the kid had a rose just covering. I looked at them. I said, listen, I can't do this. I can't do honor to your grandkids. Mark, you don't understand. I want you to do these. Friend of a friend. I said, all right, well, here's the deal. The only way I can do these is if I do these, I call you if I do them. I call you when I'm done. And when I deliver them, you will have a check for me. The check will be this amount. And you will not be able I will not change anything. I am delivering to you the best I can do. If my signature is on the canvas, it's done. How's that? Does that work for you? And he said, Sure. Now, with that level of flexibility, I could have brought him a painting of Gumby and left it out with him, and he'd have to pay me.
Did he stick to it?
Absolutely. I went in, I brought the two paintings. I hated the paintings. I'm not going to tell you who I painted because I don't want anyone to see them, because my signature is on them. They are not failures as far as paintings go. I succeeded in making a respectable painting, but I didn't like them in the end. Okay. I know how to make a painting work, and these paintings worked. He paid me. I took the check, but it felt like dirty money. It was a lot of money, but it felt like dirty money, and I didn't like it. I didn't feel good. And if I don't feel good, guess what? I'm a sensitive guy. That costs me more than the money I win. Like
Right.
I can't, like I'm you can see that I'm not happy with how I can't hide my feelings. And so I'm really bad at that. So I just, does that make sense?
Yeah, it
So
makes,
I run away from commissions. I don't see the point in them. I mean, and the other thing is I have an incredibly full agenda. My schedule is absolutely bonkers, and I have 8 galleries around the country. I have to send paintings to 8 galleries. I mean, think about that. So you got 7 or 8 paintings per gallery. Let's say 10 paintings per gallery. That's a lot. That's,
per
80.
month.
That's no. This is in a year.
Okay.
I look at the year and I
Okay.
see it. I see my art life as okay, what's the year ahead look like? And I've got 8 galleries, so I want to send 5 to this gallery. Eventually I want to get 8 to this one. I want to get 15 to that one, that kind of thing. And you end up looking like, you look at the situation, you're like, well, at some point I've got to deliver at least 80 paintings this year to the galleries. That's just for the galleries. That's not for my own shows. And I try to have a solo show every year, and my solo show is going to be this year. If I do one, it'll be in California at my gallery in Balboa, but I don't know. I may not get to it. I have two. And for a solo show, you want to have 20 paintings, and they all have to be the best you can do all the time, anyway. And then you have workshops, and you've got to prepare there. I do videos with Streamline, and I also have, if I can do it, I do some acting. I played Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird a couple of years ago. That took months of my life,
I bet.
I write music and sing songs, and I don't have a boring minute. It's one thing after another, and I travel all over the place. I think I'm going to be in 10 different towns this year. And I
So
also try to say, here, one more thing. I like to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
If a question, I like to say yes to every question. So if I can work it in, I'll try to do it. And I said yes to 2 very exciting things last year. And it looks like I'm going to try to say yes to them again this year. One last year was my friend Kathleen, who invited me to paint in the edge of a desert. She rented a house in Utah, and we joined 7 other great painters. Oh my God, they were good. I mean, some names you'd of course know. And we just painted that whole week in the desert in Utah, every day, bringing back these paintings to the house. Imagine 20 paintings a day are brand new on the walls, and we're just looking at them and studying them and asking each other about how did you get that red of that rock and stuff. Oh my God, it was so exciting. And another trip was similar, although I think the similar was to Tuscany, to paint in Cortona. And that was 2 weeks of sheer magic, just going out and painting with some of my friends. And it's a million stories, but anyway.
Wow. Well,
I digress.
No, it's good. And it lines up with all my questions. I mean, I want to know, how do, our listeners are listening to this prolific career. So how do you get 8 galleries, and how do you end up getting tapped for Streamline and ending up on the roll of these trips with these other fabulous artists? How does this magic happen? Is this
Say yes.
evolution?
Nope, just say yes to your heart. Follow your heart, say yes. I know that sounds glib, but let me try to clarify it and put a few more words around that.
Please do, because I just did an episode where I told my listeners, say no. Say no to
Oh,
everything that's not important.
well, no, you say yes to the things that are important, say, and just don't do I don't focus on the things I say no to, because I've said yes to something else. So for example, how do you get involved? How did I get in all these galleries? Well, first of all, let's be clear. Paint very, very well. Be a good painter. And you should put some effort into that. Read books about, constantly study art. Go to museums with friends who love art and talk about what's good about paintings. Talk about what's bad about some paintings. Talk about what you love. Talk about what you don't love. Go to the artists that you love and keep studying them. Look at their work. And gosh, wow, if he's doing, I mean, that's how I learned. I loved Norman Rockwell when I was a kid. I tried to copy his work. I loved a lot of the great illustrators, Maxfield Parrish, the usual suspects, great Andrew Wyeth, studying how these artists and reading about how these artists approach their work. That's all part of it. It helped also that I went to art school. I mean, I went to one of the great art schools, I think, in the world. I mean, RISD was a magical place. And, RISD was not a place where, and I'll talk for hours about my RISD life, but one of the great things, and I didn't learn it until years later, RISD doesn't teach you how to be an artist. RISD teaches you, or a good art school teaches you how to think like an artist. Thinking like an artist is not being an artist. Thinking like an artist is solving problems as they come up and trying to think your way around them. How do I solve this problem? And also understanding that it's not about what's right and what's wrong with art. In art, we don't do this is right, that's wrong. What we do is this works, this doesn't work. That's the difference. And once you open your mind to that and say, okay, this might not, be what I thought, but it works. It's like Jackie Gleason said, if you think you got it, but you don't got it, you got it. It's like, it's all about, it's your approach. And if you put your life into it and your love into it, you will find it. Now, more practical advice. For God's sake, join an art association. If you're not a member of your local art association, find an art association that's nearby and be a member. It's absolutely crucial. Why do I say this? First of all, you have a place to hang your work. Secondly, you have a place to talk to other people who are like-minded. And believe it or not, you're going to find people who can teach you something who you wouldn't expect. You'll find somebody who likes to look at art who could give you a good critique, and that's worth its weight in gold. 3, it's a place where you could do a solo show. If you're a member, most of these art associations, all you got to do is sign up to do a solo show in, say, a year. You might have to wait a year, but you get to show your work. And why does that matter? That's why you're doing it. That's why you're painting. Maybe it's for you and just for you. And if so, stay home and paint and enjoy your work. And that's a good life too. There's nothing wrong with painting for yourself. But if you want to paint and show your work because you want to share your feelings about how you feel about the world, then you got to show your work. I mean, that's, for me, I can't stop expressing. And why do I express? Because I feel it and I want to connect. Art is about connecting to people. That's why I do it.
I'm the same way.
I want to show my work to people. I have a passion for please, let's go on this journey together. Look at this painting with me. Look at this little world that I've found. And then when they look and they see something of their own in their own heart that lights up, that's what gives me joy. That's the connection. So it's love. It's basically the four Bohemian principles. You know, that's what I live by, which is love, truth, freedom, and beauty. That's what I live by. And I don't have a religion. I long ago left religion, but that is as close to religion as I have. I believe in love. I believe in truth and beauty and, you know, and freedom. I mean, art is about freedom too, because what do I mean by that? Think of what happens when you become a master at something. You become there becomes like, there's almost no filter between you and what you create. You're totally free to express yourself once you understand that art is about that. It's about pure liberation, the freedom to be everything that you can be in a creative way, and just keep doing it. Live the joy of that, and a lot of things fall into place. Now, if you join an art association, am I talking too much? Correct me,
No, keep
Caroline.
going. You're perfect.
I'm just saying, if you join an art association, you're going to get a place to connect to other people, and you'll begin making those connections, and you start moving other people, and they'll care about your work if you're good. And if you're getting better, always ask yourself, what can I do to get better at this? You know, what am I doing I did a show once at a college, and I had this whole book of reviews. Like the kids were coming in and just like, oh, it's so wonderful. All the light is great. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at how does Mark paint all this light and blah, blah. But you know, the review that caught me, the bad one. Somebody said, these are just a bunch of nature paintings. There's nothing else to them. They're just pretty little nature paintings. And you know what? I don't get angry when I read that. No, 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 no. I'm taking that to heart. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I've posted all these paintings in this show, and you know, there aren't a lot of people, there aren't a lot of stories being told. Maybe these are too many little vignettes of tide pools and vignettes of, little nooks and crannies. And yeah, there's a passion in it for me. I wouldn't have painted it otherwise, but I'm not reading and no one's seeing that. This particular person isn't seeing that. Well, I take that to heart. It's a very interesting insight. And I've found myself, I think that's partly why I really went into the art circuit, the whole national circuit of painting at national events, because I wanted to push myself. I loved art school. And, if you go to one of these art events, if you're lucky enough to get selected for one, what happens is it's like art school. You're with 20 other painters. Let's say the Forgotten Coast, for example. I've painted there many times. The Forgotten Coast and Plein Air is one of these major art events in the country, one of these great plein air events. And I've been to many of them. I didn't go, I'm not going this year, but I went for like 5 years in a row. And what happens is you've got 25 other painters, and they're all really good. And the assignment of the week is to go out for the week and paint whatever you want to paint. And when you're done at the end of the week, you take your 7 or 8 or 10 paintings, and we're going to have a big show. And then there's a party, and people come in and they buy some of the paintings, and you get to talk to the other artists about the work they put on the wall, and what part of town did they go to get that view. And it's all very exhilarating, and it's extremely challenging. And I'm in a place, at the time it was a place I'd never been. So it's like going to art school is my point. You're getting the assignment, you're getting the critique, you're getting better, you're learning more. And best of all, you're connecting to new people, a lot of people. And, I make friends on these trips. And I do as many of them as I can. As long as my knees hold up, I'm going to go to these. I love them.
Yeah, I understand the knee thing. I'm learning all about my joints as I'm getting older and what they can't do anymore.
Well, I advice on that because
Yeah.
I stand when I paint. I stand all day. I'm at my easel standing, which is by itself good. I try
Mhm.
not to sit when I paint. Um, but my advice would be have 3 or 4 pairs of sneakers that are slightly different. When your knee starts hurting, change your sneakers. Very often, very often that cures the whole problem because a lot of knee problems and back problems are from posture. So if you can just get your posture right, and sometimes it's as simple as stand up straight and wear the right kind of shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really like really good advice. Now, I do have one question about your interesting journey that in which you got the Shining Star Award. It's your bio says for work with over 200,000 children.
Correct.
And that's an education award. So that's not the
Yes.
book award.
Right.
How did you get that reach on that one?
Well, I am a performer. I don't know if you've picked this up yet. And what happens is when my Night of the Moon Jellies, go back to this for a second. When Night of the Moon Jellies was published by Simon and Schuster in 1990 or 91, I guess, I immediately was invited to schools.
Uh,
Teachers would say, "Oh, Mark, and especially in my hometown. Oh, Mark, you went out in the world and made good. Why don't you come back to school and tell the kids about what you did and how did you get involved in publishing and how did you write stories and how did you do this?" Well, twist my arm. Well, I was so excited. I went into so what I would do is I'd go to, say, the Nathan Hale School in New London, Connecticut, and I had the whole day, and I don't know how many kids they had there. Let's say it's 500 kids. We would cordon off the library or one of the big rooms and maybe the gym, and I would see them in segments of groups of, say, 75. Okay, and they would come in for an hour, and I would just have them for an hour. I would read to them my book. I'd read my other book. I've written other books. I'd read stories that hadn't been published. I'd sing songs. I'd show them I gave them an art lesson. I introduced them to the ideas of the Enlightenment. We talked about when art changed from being very Gothic and flat to chiaroscuro. I mean, I did this with first and second graders. No problem. They got it. I talked to them about the magic trick of how to paint things and draw things to make them look 3D by using a trick that was invented 600 years ago, a trick that was so amazing that it launched the Renaissance. And of course, the trick, quote unquote, see, this is the performer in me. It was perspective.
Perspective.
And so I did a demonstration of how to do perspective. I drew a barn, I put it in perspective. And, there's this moment where it just looks like a kite on a piece of paper. And then you chop off the ends and erase stuff. And all of a sudden the barn appears. And oh my God, these kids would freak out. They'd be like, oh my God, Mrs. Swanson, did you see what Mark Shasha did? These kids ate it up.
Yes.
And I discovered that, and I did that, my own kids. I did this with my own kids. I love teaching kids and using trying to open up their minds to areas that they're going to revisit later. So I talked about the Enlightenment. I talked about perspective. I talked about the idea of oh gosh, I covered a lot of ground, and I did it with drawing. And anyway, I'm really going on and on, but the short of it is, I did that in hundreds of schools.
Wow.
I do it. Oh, and another funny thing is I wore a yellow suit at every school. I had a yellow suit that I wore because when I started out, I was a little bit afraid that I wouldn't hold their attention. And I thought if I wear a yellow suit, maybe at least they'll be like in awe of my yellow suit. So, I bought some cheap $50 suit, and I ended up wearing it to something like 210 schools and libraries. And I didn't do it all at once. I mean, I did it over a 10-year period. So from 1991 to about 1999, I guess. Those were the years I went to schools.
Did you wear the suit for 10 years?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And I'm very proud. It still fits me. But the funny thing is, the kids never forgot it. I still get letters from kids. They loved it. And so one day in Connecticut, I got a phone call that a group from the Children's Museum of Southeastern Connecticut had selected me for an award for all my work with young people. And I've been lucky, and I've had a lot of awards in my life. I got an award for my children's book for writing and illustrating it. I got a lot of awards for painting. The award that I am most proud of is the Shining Star Award from the Children's Museum of Southeastern Connecticut for what they wrote in it was for Mark Shasha's outstanding contribution to the education of young people. And really, it was, if you add up how many kids I saw that time, it's about 200,000.
That's amazing.
So that's a little sandwich in there of my art life. And all that time, I somehow managed to still, be in plays or do other things. I was raising my kids. I was a very, I'm the guy that changed the diapers, took care of making food for the kids, and I took them to all the doctor's appointments. I did the dentists. I did the braces. Yeah, I was the guy that did that. But when the kids got old enough, oh man, I'm out of here. And I went and I pursued my thing. And my wife was semi-retired, I think about, and she's a glamorous star in her world. She rose to a huge height, became a vice president of marketing at Fidelity Investments. She was there for 22 years. I could tell you stories of the things she was invited to that we went to do, White House Correspondents' Dinners, Time 100 parties, New York City, amazing. And it's all because I happened to marry this star. But when she retired, she took an early retirement, and she's been my helper and my, so in other words, she's giving to me now what I gave to her years ago. She's helping me with my thing. She just sent me a note yesterday saying, Mark, you've got to get a painting out to the Oil Painters of America. And I would have forgotten this. I mean, I've got stuff all over the place, like sending, that's another thing I guess I should mention, marketing your work.
Yeah, that was actually my next question.
Okay,
so
well, let me,
go for it.
You want to ask it the way you want to ask it?
Yeah, I was just going to ask how you recommend artists promote themselves and how you do your marketing, because that's a whole nother dimension of having an art career.
Right. If you don't have good work, don't market. I'm going to say that again. Don't try to sell your work if your work's not great. Wait until you get, let me back up a little bit, because that didn't sound right. I want you to market yourself to your art association, build your life, make the art association part of your life, and learn there, whether you're good or not. That doesn't matter. The art association is a very forgiving place. Lots of beginners there. It's a great place to get your foot in and start. And that's why I say the art association is kind of like your teddy bear. Get close to that. Now, when you decide you're good enough and you're ready to go to galleries and stuff, well, then go to the galleries and try to be fearless about that. Don't be afraid. Your work doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good for you. You feel good about it. You feel confident. You're ready to do this. And approach galleries. They're going to give you nothing but resistance. But if you, staying on the art association for a second, when you do your solo show at the art association, invite all your friends, invite everyone you know who loves art, find people who might love art and send them an invitation. And I don't mean an email. I mean, get a postcard off in the mail. Do a postcard. Vistaprint has great deals on postcards. Yeah, the postage is going to cost you something, cost you more than the card sometimes, but you got to do some promotion with postcards. I have postcards that have my name right on the side. It always says Shasha, always, every postcard. This is great marketing. I'm very proud of my marketing. But you see how it says Shasha on the side?
Yes.
Every postcard I send out has the same design, Shasha, and then the best picture that's going to be in my show. Then on the back, I always make sure that I have my website. So in addition to the address of the exhibition, I have the website so people can go to that. And markshasha.com, by the way.
Oh yeah, that'll be in the show notes.
Yeah. And I also have a newsletter that I put out, but I'm not like a lot of artists. They want to throw out their newsletter they generate a new one every 2 weeks or something. Listen, if you can do that, good luck. I think people get tired of seeing your work, no matter how good you are, if you keep shoving it in their face. You have to calm down, think about it. I do 3 newsletters a year or 4 at the most, and I'm very careful with them. And I have a good, solid following. Very few people unsubscribe from my newsletter because I care about what I'm sending them. I want it to be beautiful, beautiful paintings. This is my series of beautiful paintings lately. This is what's on my website. This is the workshop I'm you got to have information that people want. You know, my upcoming workshop, the latest video that I have, a latest book, a latest appearance in the media, if I'm going to be on TV or even if I'm going to be in a play, I'll mention that. And I'll always link to videos that I have. There's so many on YouTube now. I don't even know. I can't keep track of them, and I'm not even generating them. There's other people that generate videos of my work now, and I'm fine with it. But it's just I treat the people who buy my work like gold. I treasure them. I try to see them as real people, not buyers. They are people. You are connecting to them. They love your work because there's something in you that they're seeing. It's personal. Don't just treat them like a number or a name. These are people, and you are providing some joy to their life with your art, or they wouldn't be on your mailing list. So my advice is to when you market yourself, think about that and always put your best foot forward. Now, getting into galleries, it's been a long time since I knocked on the door of a gallery. I hated doing that because I knew they hate you. They hate you as soon as they tell you that, oh, you're an artist. Nice. The door is, did you come in that just get out of here. They do not want to hear you. They don't want to hear you at all because they're always swatting artists away like flies, especially the big galleries that make big money. They just don't want to hear your sob stories and so rather than do that, this is why I say the Art Association is your teddy bear. Go back to your teddy bear. Do your shows there until you're ready. And when you do your show there, invite the galleries that are local to you. Send them one of these and send them a nice note. Say, listen, I've got a show at the Dedham Art Association, and I'm really proud of it. And I think that my work might appeal to you and to your buyers. I'm serving wine.
There it is.
And make it, and you know, if you can really get this out of the art association, you're doing yourself a big favor, and the art association should accommodate somehow. Sometimes they're all volunteers, they can't do this, but if you can have a VIP night, if you do a show at, say I do a show at the Marblehead Art Association, I always have a VIP night where I'm going to have, if I have to, I'll hire someone to be there to help me close deals. But I get certain, I'll let my collectors know. The people who have bought from me before are my collectors. I let them know I'm going to have a VIP night at the Art Association, and everything's going to be well lit, and we're going to have wine. And there's going to be some other stuff. And if you really want to get, and this is how I really launched, I got known for this. I don't do it anymore, but I used to have an unveiling where I would have a painting that was there on VIP night that no one had seen yet. And it would be on an easel, and it would be wrapped in red velvet. And I would say, in about 15 minutes, I'm going to unveil this. So people, come on in. This is my creme de la creme. This is my painting of the paintings. This is my favorite one. You didn't see it on the postcard, but it is, I think, one of my best paintings in the show. And I just wanted you all I wanted to share the experience of seeing your reaction to it. Here we go. And you raise the red velvet, and oohs and ahs, and of course somebody always buys it, and it's very exciting. I am a performer, and because I am a performer, this stuff comes very easy to me, and I have a lot of fun. It's pure joy. This is not hard for me to come up with this stuff. And I see life as a fun kind of a game, and it's joyful, and I don't know, and I didn't even mention, if you want a good website, go to Fazo.
That was my next question are you using Fazo?
Absolutely. Fazo is
my
the
gosh.
best.
I want to
Fazo
switch
is
to
great.
them.
Okay.
I got to get somebody from Faso on the show. I want to switch to them, but I need to know if I can hook up my podcast to it, because I've got to have the flexibility to incorporate a podcast.
Well,
And
just talk to them. I think that chances are you're going to have a podcast lane and a website lane. And what you want to do is, just first and foremost, most important, if you have a good website, and Fazo's beautiful website. These are Fazo has put the effort into making websites for artists that work for artists.
yes.
So you're not, this is candy from, this is I don't know how to, the right metaphor, but it's just
Yes.
fabulous. Now, it helps with newsletters. It helps with blogs. You can make your newsletter a blog post. You can make your blog post a newsletter.
Or a podcast. I bet you I could just incorporate it into the blog.
Well, give them a call.
Yeah.
Talk. You got to ask them that one. I don't do a podcast, so I don't know, but I have. The other thing is Artwork Archive. Artwork Archive.
Yes, I love them too.
A very, very important place for serious artists. If you are serious about keeping an inventory that's accurate, an accurate inventory, an archive of all your work.
Yeah.
You want to get on Artwork Archive for that. And there's another nice feature that Artwork Archive can do for you. You can, let's say a gallery wants to see some of your work and they show some interest. You don't want to just say, okay, let me just bring in some random stuff. No. You want to show them a variety of stuff, ask them what they might like to see, and then say, I'm going to send you an email, which is a link to a room. It's
Okay.
a room. It's like a room it's basically it's almost like an interactive PDF file where the gallery can see a selection of your work and see what the prices are. Because
Okay.
you're not gonna put prices on your website probably, and there's a reason for that. But you have the prices in this thing, and you're sending that off to the gallery so they get a sense of what you have. And also they can select which paintings they might want in the gallery and leave the other ones out. So you've got a way in without being a blunderbuss about it. You've got a way of saying, look, it's a soft sell. And if you're working with a gallery already, oh, this is just a dream. It's so easy. And Artwork Archive makes this more possible. So you can, rather than have like it makes it simple. So I have a gallery on Nantucket, for example, the Pierce Galleries, one of the best galleries in the whole world. They are a great gallery, and it's a thrill to be in there. So, but I can't just bring him anything. I can't just say, oh, here's some stuff lying around my studio. Let me send some work. No. It doesn't work that way. Your gallery is your partner. And if your gallery doesn't like the idea of bringing a particular painting in, don't say it. Don't ever mention that painting again to them. It's just not worth it. You want to be their friend. You want to be the helper of the gallery. So the gallery says, well, what do you have? Like lately, there's a certain series of paintings that they kind of have shown interest in. And I'm going to put a room together, thanks to Artwork Archive, of what I have that I think might apply. And I'll just send that to them and they'll get it. And you can send this in a text so that they can just link to it and look at what you got and decide which ones they want. But you've got to be working with a gallery at that point for that to really be effective. Because then you're sending art to the gallery that the gallery has already decided they want. I've got a gallery in Montana that I've got to be very careful what I would send them, because it's mountains and it's greenery. And, my paintings of the beaches of California are not going to sell well there, you see. So you've got to be in touch with your gallerist, and say, well, this is what I have. You tell me what you want me to send you. I don't paint for my galleries. I paint for me. But what I send to the galleries is what the gallery chooses. You know what I'm saying?
It's curated.
It's different. Yeah. It's kind of like people ask me, well, do you paint for money? No, I do not paint for money. I paint for myself, but I sell for money. I sell my paintings for money, but I don't paint for money. I don't think about money. I don't worry about money. And it's not because I have money. It's because it's irrelevant to the art process. I can't come anywhere from my heart if it's about the money, because money just doesn't motivate me. That gets back to that whole commission thing. It's a nuisance. I know for a lot of artists, it's very hard. I get it. It's hard. I was a starving artist in Boston. I couldn't sell any. Listen, I know what it's like. I was actually homeless for 3 nights waiting to raise enough money for my first last month in security deposit way back in the 80s. So I know what it's like to be broke, dirt broke. I smoked cigarettes because it killed my hunger. When I was smoking, I didn't have any appetite. It was easy to solve that problem. That was way back. But
now it's cheaper to eat.
Probably.
It's cheaper to eat now.
Good, as it should be.
Yes. So, wow. So much. And I know, we could talk all week and not even make a dent in the incredible experiences you've had. And this information is going to help so many people. I only have a couple questions left. Are you okay on time?
Oh, of course, I'm fine.
Thank you. And you've been so gracious. And it's such a pleasure. Like, my head almost exploded when I'm like, I've got to be able to speak to Mark on the show, and you were available. And I'm so grateful because your video. Okay, listeners, Mark's video, the particular one that I watched and studied from was The Golden Hour, is incredible.
Right.
And I got that video. Yeah, show it, please.
Well, this is the other one. I've got them both here.
Okay. They are terrific. And I got specifically for me, I watched information about both of them. I was obsessed with Mark's teachings while I was painting my painting of my toddlers at the beach because I thought, well, I've got to go to the guy who does this. And he's got these crystal clear paintings that just sparkle. I mean, it's very clear that you are inspired by Maxfield Parrish, and you take it to a whole nother level. The clarity in your paintings, I don't even know how to
Thank you.
describe it. The light is so pure. It's like, I mean, I sound like an idiot, but
No, that makes sense. No, I understand. Well, with art,
they sparkle.
well, the thing about painting is like, it's really true what they say. A picture is worth 1,000 words. That's why we paint. There was so much is being said in a painting. It's
Yes.
so many things.
Well, Mark's paintings achieve that so beautifully, but you've got to take a look at his work. You'll see it in the show notes, and the clarity and the light in these paintings is just awe-inspiring. So I would love for you to tell us what your biggest struggle is as an artist. Do you have any struggles?
Yes, I have struggles. Getting better. I struggle with getting better. I have a anguish when I'm in if I'm caught in a painting and I don't know how to resolve it.
Yes.
I just wish I was a better painter. I wish I could paint faster. I wish I could paint better. I wish I could solve problems easier. Like one of the things that happened this past year, one of these events that I go to is I'll give you an example, the Laguna Plein Air.
Yes.
It's a signature paint out. It's the signature artist, and I'm one of the signature painters of the Laguna Plein Air Painters Association in California. And I went there and had a great time when it's so great. I don't know, how much time do you have? Do you have a few minutes?
For you, I've got all day.
Oh, well, I just want to tell you the story.
Go for it.
So one of my gallerists, who happens to be a dear friend of mine, decided that we're going to stay in a cottage in Crystal Cove. And it's just going to be us, my wife, and another artist. And we're just going to spend a night, and I'm going to bring my guitar, and we're going to sing songs. We're going to have a great time. But this was in the middle of the Invitational. So it's a lot of fun, and we're going to be up until 2 a.m, and then too much wine is going to be drunk. And then how am I going to be the next day? But but I figured, well, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to be at Crystal Cove. Everything's going to be right there. It's the most beautiful beach in California, one of the prettiest. And so we woke up in the morning, and I went out there. I was groggy headed, couldn't get enough coffee, and I couldn't see a painting. It's beautiful, but I just didn't see anything I wanted to paint. I didn't feel it. And I was far from the car, and I had all my gear, and I kind of felt committed that I had to paint somehow. I had to come up with something because this place is too beautiful. But I couldn't think of anything. And at some point I said to my wife, look, I got to get out of here. She was having a great day. She went up to the Shake Shack, hung out with the surfers, came down with like this beautiful, magnificent chocolate milkshake for me, which blew my mind. It was one of the best things I ever had in my life. Laguna Beach Shake Shack. Don't miss it if you're ever there.
That's right.
And so it was such an amazing experience. But then I said, okay, tomorrow when I go out, I got to go out clean. I got to go out and paint in the morning. I went out to Aliso Beach, and there's this famous keyhole. And
Yes.
I took this 16 by 12 canvas, and I just got very private with myself, got into my own thing, took the walk. Always I have my coffee. I go out to the end of the beach, go to the keyhole, and I'm right there at the keyhole, and I whipped off. Sometimes if you paint enough, one or two paintings will paint itself. It's like, oh my God, this thing just flew together.
That's a beautiful painting.
Oh, thank you. Know the one I'm talking about?
Yep.
I think it's on my website right now. So it came together. I won a couple of awards with it.
It's stunning.
It was just fantastic. And then I sold it right away. And I got a note from OPA that they wanted a painting how it worked at OPA? I think OPA, I had to submit, no, I misremembered. I have to submit something to OPA. So OPA is going to select something. And I thought, what I'll do, this gets back to your other question, long answer. I've got, I decided to try to paint another one, but to kick it up to the next level. So I was going to do the keyhole painting, but do it over, refreshed with a new energy. And I was going to put more detail in it. I was going to polish off certain parts that didn't get polished in the plein air event and have something a little more sophisticated for OPA. Well, don't tell OPA, but I worked so hard on this. Oh my God. And this gets back to your question. You're like, what is my struggle? My struggle is to be better. And I couldn't take that painting. I couldn't make it, I couldn't do much with it. I think I got a very respectable facsimile of what I had done before, but I don't feel like I kicked it up to something special. And in fact, it's probably not as energetic. The brush strokes don't have the same energy. Listen, I hope that OPA accepts it for the national show, but they may not. And if they don't, there's my struggle. The struggle is not to get into the OPA show. That's not the struggle. The struggle is I want to make my paintings better. That's more important to me than getting accepted into shows. I mean, I keep entering into this this thing at one of these bold brush contests, and I never win. I go to these other things and I win all kinds of awards. I've got a wall full of awards, but I can't win anything from bold brush. I don't know why. And I just shake my head. Do I care? No, of course not. That's not what's important. My struggle is, how do I get to be a better painter? How do I get to the point where I can look at a painting that I did in plein air and then do a studio version of it and have the studio version be even better? That's a really high bar. I don't know why it's such a high bar, but it is. It just doesn't come together like that. And also the other thing is, a lot of paintings that work really well at this size, they don't work well when you make them bigger, because you start realizing that all that little sky, the sky that was no problem in the design down here, becomes a big, big problem. The bigger the painting, the bigger the problems.
I've noticed that. There are a number of paintings that I have struggled with that I thought, this would have been perfect 10 inches smaller. Mm-hmm. So I think size is definitely a factor in painting the right thing at the size that it works best at.
Right.
So I always like to let my guests wrap up the show and have the last word. And I would love for you to wrap us up with your best advice for becoming a successful artist.
Well, my best advice is to go back and listen to everything that I said today. Be the best artist you can be. That's the most important thing. Find out what you love to paint and get good at it. That's the most important thing. That doesn't mean you can't paint flowers once in a while or do a snow scene. You should do as many different kinds of painting as you can to keep your hands, to keep challenging yourself. But find something that you love to paint and get good at it. And don't just get good at that. Try to expand your ability to paint other things. And keep exploring the world. I never knew that I would love painting in Bryce Canyon, Utah. I never knew that I'd love it. It turns out, people think of me as a beach painter. I became well known for my children's books, which were about beaches and my grandmother's little hot dog stand. I never thought I would love Utah, painting in Utah so much. But oh my God, I can't wait to go back. I love painting those red rocks in the desert. And I would never have known that had I not explored the world and taken some chances and said yes and tried stuff. So I think it's one of the jobs of an artist is to go out and explore and learn things about yourself and put that into your art. Find out who you are and put that into your art and find the things you love. It's a love-motivated life. And you've got to, and don't worry so much about the money or whether you're in galleries. Try not to think about that. Think about getting good at what you do. Because if your last name, whoever you are, doesn't mean anything, like it doesn't mean, like people can't count on it, then you don't really have anything as an artist, as a profession. You know, you're, the word for that is branding. You know, you are your brand. And if you're no good at what you do, I mean, everyone listening to this podcast is good enough. You're good enough. That's not the question. Whether you're good enough to, you know, whether you're ready is the question. Not whether you're good enough, but whether you're ready. Anyone can learn and anyone can get better, and you're going to do great. You're going to get better. It's really just a matter of, are you ready for the next level? Are you ready for the next level? Are you ready for the next one, and so on? So you keep getting better. Don't worry about whether you're great or really good, or, you know, be the best that you can be. That's the key. Just try to keep getting better at it. I think there were some contradictions in there. You can just edit that out.